This is where the fun begins.
Hello there.
What's going on, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Obi Wan Kenobi show coming from the direct. As always, I'm going to have the full article linked down in the description down below. Without further ado, we're going to hop right on into it. We have new intel and new descriptions here for what we can expect to see here for the upcoming Obi Wan Kenobi show that there, of course, is going to be premiering over on Disney Plus on the May 27th with 2 episodes, of course, which is very, very exciting. And this here is coming from the direct, as I had already mentioned. Full article link down in the description down below. Obi Wan Kenobi Disney Plus writer teases Darth Vader's cruel hunt for Jedi, kind of giving us a little bit of an insider here on what we can expect to see here, really from the ruthless acts here of Darth Vader and the other Inquisitors during this time period here in the Star Wars franchise. The article goes on to read, Obi Wan Kenobi lands in our galaxy later next month, with the first 2 episodes dropping simultaneously on Disney Plus. And what already promises to be a massive weekend for fans thanks to Star Wars Celebration as well, the highly anticipated series becomes a reality after years of campaigning for Ian McGregor's return as Obi Wan Kenobi. After 17 years, the Jedi Master is finally back. Things are off to a promising start as well, as the teaser trailer released in March blew the minds of fans worldwide. Aside from the memeing of the Grand Inquisitor's appearance, the Star Wars faithful have been extremely impressed with the production quality the series boasts and the promise of big things to come when it debuts. Major discussion about the narrative won't transpire until the show's run has concluded, but the gist is evident. As we already know here from the start of Star Wars and the birth of it in 1977 with A New Hope, Obi-Wan describes this time period as the Dark Times. The era in which Obi-Wan Kenobi is set is called the Dark Times for a reason, as the article reads. As the Empire reigns with little open pushback, any Jedi lucky enough to survive the events of Order 66 seen in Revenge of the Sith, and of course in other forms of media in the Star Wars universe and franchise in Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars The Clone Wars, and The Bad Batch, and much, much more, as well as probably continuing and expanding kind of those different points of views of what was going on here with Order 66 is also one of those big things and big questions, of course, that remains here for the upcoming Star Wars franchise. A huge one, of course, out there would be, of course, what was going on exactly here with Grogu in The Mandalorian, of course, as we did learn in the Book of Boba Fett. But however, it only gave us a little bit of a glimpse here, and that little bit of a glimpse is something that's kind of set up here for what is going on in the future of the Star Wars franchise, especially with the Mandalorian universe, which is something usually that we talk about here on the channel. However, I digress here. Let's get back here to the article. Any Jedi lucky enough to survive the events of Order 66 are being hunted down and defeated, of course, by Darth Vader himself and the Inquisitors. Darth Vader oversees the operation to eliminate members of the ancient religion, dispatching his Inquisitors to deal with the lesser Jedi who are unworthy of his time. With the titular character leaving Tatooine, Obi-Wan Kenobi is set to give another look at his hunting experience. Only the Imperial forces will be up against one of the greatest Jedi of his generation. To make the series a story worth telling, it's necessary to force Kenobi off-world and challenge his faith in order before facing the challenge of his fallen pupil, Darth Vader, something the screenwriter has given considerable thought to, which of course is Joby Harold here, of course, for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, with Deborah Chow, of course, directing. And a huge thing that I really like about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, as it does seem, is that Ian McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Hayden Christensen, who's also very excitingly returning here to the Star Wars franchise as Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker, of course, to reprise that role, also kind of get a little bit of a say here and a little bit of an insight here, especially with a lot of different recent interviews here that we've seen with Deborah Chow, the show's director here, and how she was able to bring these 2 guys on here, of course, reprising both their respected roles here and kind of telling us and giving a little bit of an insight here for how they were actually able to help on the creative side here of things. I mean, yes, she's totally right. Of course, these guys have, of course, known and been with these characters for pretty much a huge chunk of their life now at this point in time, and of course, living it day by day. The article goes on to continue in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. Of course, a lot of different Entertainment Weekly articles with exclusive stuff here for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show has been a huge thing here, of course, and as always, I'm going to have that full article as well linked down in the description down below. below. Screenwriter Joby Harold made it clear that Obi Wan Kenobi viewers are in for an inherently darker story than most Star Wars projects, which, yes, is well deserved, especially as we had already mentioned earlier on, as this time period here in the Star Wars franchise is being described as the dark times ever since the beginning and the creation of the Star Wars franchise in 1977 with A New Hope. In quotes from the show's writer here, Joby Harold, it takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, in a time of darkness in the galaxy. The Empire is in the ascendancy, and all the horrors that come with the Empire are being made manifest throughout the galaxy, and the Jedi Order as we know them are being all but wiped out. So everything that was in the prequels has essentially crumbled. Ending the quote there, coming from Joby Harold. Yes, this is kind of going to, of course, give off plenty of nostalgia, I think, to what the prequels were in the early 2000s there, with the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, of course. But at the same time, we have to learn and come to terms that this isn't necessarily that same time period, which of course brings up that whole thought, of course, of not only, of course, having these actors, of course, come back here to these roles, but it also brings up the idea of having those Clone Wars flashbacks here to kind of better connect us to these different time periods. It's supposed to kind of be much like a, I guess, binding here of what these different time periods are here. And this, of course, is a huge transition here, going from what was, of course, the prequels here, now to the age here of the Empire here. And it's something that is being brought up more and more in the recent of Star Wars storytelling with different shows, such as the Cassian Andor show, which we're going to be getting later, the end of the Clone Wars show, of course, with season 7 there, the final Clone Wars series, and of course a huge one has to be the Bad Batch. The byproducts of the prequels events was Darth Vader, who relentlessly pursues any surviving Jedi, as Joby Harold continues to go on to say, in quotes, "Those surviving Jedi, those that do survive, are on the run and are in hiding, and Vader and his Inquisitors are chasing them to the end of the galaxy." Ending the quote right there, coming from this show's director, Joby Harold. And, well, yeah, I guess that they're essentially going to be going all out, and it seems very Sith-like in that case, and honestly, in my own thoughts and opinions, doesn't really surprise me all that much, especially with Darth Vader. Darth Vader is something that we have to learn at this time period, is that he's so full of rage and hatred, he is going to essentially almost do anything that he can, especially when it comes to his former master slash best friend, and much of a father figure to him at the same time, Obi Wan Kenobi, who he honestly wrongfully blames for his own downfall. As the direct article continues, Obi-Wan himself has struggled to find hope and faith in the ways of the Jedi, especially at this time period, something the screenwriter promises, of course, to be explored. In quotes coming from Joby Harold, within that hopeless, fatalistic world, we find possibly the most famous of all of our surviving Jedi in hiding, struggling with that faith that defines the Jedi and wanting to hold onto it and hoping to regain that faith within that sort of hopeless world. Ending the quote there, coming from Joby Harold. And, well, yeah, he's of course stands very corrected at this time period of course, as I had previously mentioned, this is such a hopeless time here, and I honestly cannot imagine, especially how Obi Wan Kenobi is feeling, especially after this catastrophic, I guess, loss here of what essentially is the Jedi Order, his best friend Anakin Skywalker, and maybe even himself. He doesn't even, I guess, feel himself. He doesn't really know himself at this time period, and to see that mental struggle is another thing that I'm very, very longing to see here for the Obi Wan Kenobi show, because there's going to be a lot of different PTSD and grief and, I guess, pain type of, I guess, aspects and concepts and ideas that are going to be added to the Star Wars franchise, and kind of dealing with those inner emotions. And luckily, with the Book of Boba Fett and how Boba Fett deals with his traumatic post, I guess, stress and PTSD, of course, is something that the Star Wars franchise had opened up to, and of course it is something I hope it continues to do here for the future of its shows here and movies and other different projects here, giving us a little bit of an insight of how our characters are truly feeling with emotions here, and having those maybe different flashbacks, which of course, as I had mentioned earlier on in the video, is just another all the more reason to add in Clone Wars flashbacks. It's something I think that we're all rooting for here, and something that is highly, highly likely. Also, the fact that, as Joby Harold kind of mentions, that the Jedi are essentially built off of hope, and not necessarily hope, but built off of, I guess, faith, and having so much faith and adding faith to the galaxy. As I kind of was going with that, it kind of also is, I guess, kind of sparking that idea of what the rebellion is built off of, that we see in Rogue One, and then later, of course, in the original trilogy, is that the rebellion is built off of hope, much like how the Jedi are built off of their faith and kind of their ancient religion at that, if you would like to say that. The article continues: as the series progresses, Obi-Wan will be tested and regain his faith, leading to the wizard-mentored Jedi that we see in A New Hope. And this here is a huge point I must point out here, because the way that we seeing Obi-Wan here, not only at the end of the event of Revenge of the Sith, but just alone here in the trailer for the Obi Wan Kenobi show, he just seems so down and lost and faithless. And it is a huge thing that we should mention here, of course, is by the time we eventually do see him again in A New Hope here, he's filled with a lot of hope and faith here, and that is also another callback towards what we saw there with the sequel trilogy and Luke Skywalker after losing his Jedi Order here and losing Kylo Ren or Ben Solo at the time period. He as well goes into exile, so it will be very interesting to kind of see how those two are corresponding and lining up there as well. I think we're definitely in store here for a lot of different parallels, which is a huge thing that a lot of us Star Wars fans, of course, love. Finishing up here, one more quote here from Joby Harold. Within that environment and that galaxy, his faith is tested, and he goes on a journey that allows him to travel from that character that we saw in the last of the prequels, where Ian McGregor really felt like he was embodying Obi-Wan Kenobi to a pretty extraordinary degree, and ends with him as the more finished article that Sir Alec Guinness really had going there for him that we saw in A New Hope, the original Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so in this very specific time in the history of Star Wars, when the Jedi are on the run, we get to sort of stand next to and watch Obi-Wan as he runs the gauntlet and has to survive a pretty extraordinary experience, ending the quote there coming from the show's writer Joby Harold. I mean, the guy who wrote the show, I mean, he has the best intel here for what we can expect to see here actually coming from the different characters and what to overall expect here from this show. It's honestly our most reliable source out there as of right now compared to the show itself. There you guys have it. By all accounts, it sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi will be the character defining for the titular hero. Obi-Wan was largely a completed work when Revenge of the Sith came along, serving as the mature mentor and brother figure to Anakin Skywalker, but his blind faith and the Jedi Code left his friend vulnerable to manipulation, of course. With Anakin turning and the Jedi falling, it's a little wonder why Kenobi would have a crisis of faith at this time period, and that reiteration of faith replaying again and again from this interview here with Joby Harold has to be a huge thing, and something that's honestly kind of, I guess, to an extent, underseen, I guess, if you will, in the prequels especially. It's something that is widely talked about, however, later on, especially within the Mandalorian universe and later on in the sequels, as it was honestly all thought to be fake and all just kind of made up stories at that. So it's kind of also interesting to see that transitioning happening, not only, I guess, once again, but at this time period of where it's taking place, not too long and not too far from where it was really just a normal thing. As the character's mentality in A New Hope shows, Obi-Wan will triumph over the challenges he faces and comes out stronger than before. Sometimes seemingly complete characters need to be broken down and built back up in order to grow and actually still kind of show a story here and tell a story here. Of course, is something that is, I guess, very wide out there, especially within the Star Wars franchise, and that precisely what will be happening with Kenobi is just yet to be seen here with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, how they're going to do it and how it's going to essentially leave him scarred. The Jedi Master feels responsible for so much of what went wrong with Anakin Skywalker, and overall, must I add on, with overall Jedi Order here at this time period, and honestly the entirety of the galaxy. He must be feeling so much guilt and so much pain with all of that kind of going on there as well, and this upcoming journey will lead to inner peace here. The only way for him to truly conquer his demons is to face them himself, and in this case that means confronting Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker's story is a tragedy, but he can't be reached by his former master. While Obi-Wan may try, he'll come to realize that Anakin is too far gone at this point in time, and there's nothing he can do. What Luke managed to accomplish years later was nothing short of improbable, but that isn't something Kenobi was very well capable, which is also something very, very interesting, that something I'll probably talk about and cover in a separate video. It doesn't seem likely that the Inquisitors will give Obi-Wan much of a run for his money. However, spoiler alerts for Star Wars Rebels, for another thing, I would highly recommend that you guys go ahead and watch Star Wars Rebels, not only for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but also for the upcoming upcoming Ahsoka Tano series set for 2023. However, I think it goes out with saying the Grand Inquisitor and the Fifth Brother automatically have plot armor and are kind of destined to, I guess, survive any encounters that they have with Obi Wan Kenobi. However, the article goes on to continue. Perhaps a first encounter will show that he's still rusty, but a duel with Vader is where things truly become challenging. Obi-Wan will end up against a figure who outmatches him in size and power, and the man behind the mask will be tormenting the Jedi. Through perseverance and the belief in the Jedi way, Kenobi will come out strong and turn into the crazy old wizard living out beyond the Dune Sea that we later see in A New Hope. The main takeaway, I think, from today's interview here with Joby Harold that we saw here in the Entertainment Weekly article, and also reading it from the Directs article, both of those articles linked down in the description down below, is the way and the fact that how we're also going to have a, I guess, prequel sense here and nostalgia. It almost feels like that he's teasing, and it's almost destined that we're going to have flashbacks here for the Obi Wan Kenobi show at that. Also, the way, and something that this article truly honestly opened my eyes up to as I was reading and recording this video, is the way, the difference that we see Obi Wan Kenobi versus now alone here in the trailer itself, and also kind of regaining the idea and the aspects of where he was kind of at the end of Revenge of the Sith there. But it also, I think, is also kind of taking a lot here from the trailer itself and what we're seeing, that mindset kind of yet to become here that we see later on in A New Hope. Of course, here on the channel we cover all types of Star Wars news, rumors, leaks, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that type of stuff, it's all the more reason to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified when new videos do come out. Of course, guys, I want to know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. This here was a jam-packed article, and I'm going to need some time to kind of digest it a little bit more here. So, of course, I do plan to make some future videos regarding this same article here and touching back to it, because, wow, there is a lot that we can honestly take away from this overall article and this interview here for what we can expect to see here for the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And as I had already mentioned, I want to know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd absolutely love to hear what you guys all think. And drop a like in the video if you enjoy it, as it really just helps the channel. And check out the unofficial Star Wars for more Star Wars content, guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video. As always, may the Force be with you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.